Welcome to another video. My last video on the kick serve went down pretty well. In fact, there were lots of comments below asking a few questions, and one of the most common was, how can I get more power on my kick serve? So in today's video, I'm going to explain why that question in itself is wrong. But don't worry, I'm going to give you 4 simple tips that can help you to hit a bigger and more effective kick serve. Just a quick disclaimer before I get into those tips. If you're new to the kick serve and you want to know the basics, my initial video is going to be a better one for you to watch than this one. Once you've watched that video and got to grips with the basics of the kick serve, then maybe that's a good time to come back to this one. Now, before I get into the 4 tips, I mentioned that the question that you were asking about adding power to your kick serve is the wrong way to think about it, and I'll explain why. Anytime you add spin to a shot, you're actually reducing its speed, which is so true for a kick serve. The whole point of adding kick or topspin to your serve is to give you more margin for error and to make your serve more safe. The way that you should think about making your kick serve more effective is by adding weight to the serve as opposed to thinking about power. The way I describe weight is the combination of speed and spin. If you think of Rafael Nadal's forehand, I would describe his forehand as one of the heaviest in the world. But the actual ball speed itself is much slower than players that hit flatter. The benefit of this is that he can play with much bigger margins, much more height over the net, the ball's going to bounce much shorter, meaning that he doesn't have to play so close to the lines. So that's the very first thing before getting into the tips that you need to understand in your head, that we're not looking to add power to your kick serve, we're looking to add weight and heaviness. This is going to allow your serve to remain safe, but it's also going to make the ball bounce up higher, making it much more difficult for your opponent to make their return. So now that we've got that cleared up, let's get into my 4 tips to help you to hit a heavier and more effective kick serve. So my first tip is with regards to the ball toss. And if you remember my last video on the basics of the kick serve, you'll remember that I was talking about your ball toss not needing to be as far in front of your body. By tossing your ball directly above your head or even slightly to the left or behind you can help you to add more spin to your serve. But what can happen with that is you often hit it quite thin, meaning that you have loads and loads of spin but not much speed on the ball. If this sounds like you and you're getting tons of spin and very minimal speed on the ball, then consider throwing the ball slightly further in front, nearer to where you would throw the ball for your flat serve. This does make it much tougher for you to impart spin onto the ball. But if you've already got the spin nailed down, give it a go. Get that ball tossed slightly further in front. What that will do is allow you to get more body weight transfer going forwards, giving you a little bit more weight on your kick serve. Now, yes, this is quite an advanced thing to do, and you will see professional tennis players having a very similar toss for their flat, their slice, and their kick serve. Generally, it is much tougher. So if you find that difficult, don't worry, because tips 2, 3, and 4 are other ways that you can get a slightly weightier serve without changing from your normal kick serve ball toss. My second tip is to think about your acceleration timing. What I mean by this is at which point during your serve is your racket moving at its fastest. This is where lots of people go wrong. The timing of your acceleration directly impacts how much energy you can put into the ball. And naturally, the more energy you can put onto the ball, the heavier and more effective your kick serve will be. Let's take a look from the side. So to make the most out of your racket speed when you're hitting your kick serve, you want your racket to be accelerating most slightly before you make contact with the ball. A simple test to see if you're accelerating at the right point is by doing some shadow swings. Simply shadow your kick serve and try to listen out for the whoosh sound and where that whoosh sound happens within your swing. Now, ideally, you want that whoosh sound to happen before and after you make contact with the ball. A common mistake that I see players make is their whoosh sound happens in front of them. This means that at contact, their racket hasn't reached its full acceleration. It sounds obvious, but if you could start that acceleration before you make contact with the ball, by the time your racket gets there, it's going to be at its full speed, giving you maximum energy and maximum weight. Now, we've spoken about the timing of your acceleration, but tip number 3 actually talks about how you can generate more acceleration, get more racket speed and more weight on your serve. And one of the elements that can help you with your acceleration and racket speed on your serve is by getting a slightly deeper racket drop at the back of your swing. Now, when we think about racket drop on the serve, it all comes down to being loose and fluid. If you're gripping the racket too tightly, you're not going to be able to drop the racket at all. Naturally, from your pre-throw position here, with your forearm tense, your racket physically can't move downwards. So having a looser grip can allow for that racket drop to happen. Having a deeper racket drop will increase the distance between your racket head and the ball, allowing you to get more acceleration and more racket speed leading up to contact. As well as having a loose grip, having a better shoulder tilt is also going to allow you to get a bigger racket drop. When I'm talking about shoulder tilt, I'm talking about once you've got that ball up in the air, having your ball toss arm shoulder higher than your hitting shoulder. By having that tilt in your shoulders is not only going to allow you to have a deeper racket drop, but it's also going to increase your shoulder over shoulder rotation, which again can really help you to get more acceleration up to the ball. This is vital for a big serve, whether you're hitting a big flat serve or a big slice serve, but it's even more important when it comes to a kick serve because we want most of our energy going upwards to impart spin onto the ball. What you've got to consider on a kick serve is you don't have the benefit of that rotational power that you have on a slice or a flat serve. On a kick serve, you tend to stay sideways on for longer through the contact, allowing you to impart that spin and kick onto the ball. Whereas on a flat or a slice serve, you've got more power potential through that rotation and that back hip driving through the ball. So make the most of your shoulder tilt, your loose grip, and getting a slightly deeper drop on that racket at the back of your swing. Tip number 4 links into racket acceleration nicely because it's where lots of the power comes from, and it's making better use of your legs. Now, most of the time when you're hitting your kick serve, you're going to be doing lots of racket work. Quite often your legs get neglected. Your leg drive is one of the most important elements to getting more racket speed on your kick serve. And the key here is to make sure that your legs are driving upwards at the right time. Whether you've got a pinpoint stance or a platform stance, it doesn't matter. Your focus should be on completing your service motion before you land from your jump. You can see that here on these slow motion serves. As I make contact with the ball, my feet are in midair, I'm fully extended up to the ball, but I finished my service motion before my feet then land. A mistake I see players make is them actually landing slightly too early, meaning that their timing of their jump is slightly off and they haven't maximized the use of their legs within their kick serve. Unlike on a normal flat serve, you don't need to jump so far into the court. In fact, jumping straight upwards can really help you to impart more spin onto the ball. But if you remember my first tip when I mentioned about throwing the ball slightly further in front, like on a normal flat serve, you may feel like you need to jump forwards and into the court. But that is if you've already got the mechanics of the kick serve locked down. Anyway, they were my 4 tips for a bigger or heavier kick serve. Let me know if you've got any questions or if you have any other troubles with your kick serve, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Right, now that most of the people watching this video have left already, I'm left with my hardcore viewers, so a massive thank you if you're still watching this video. As a thank you, in this video and in all of my future videos, I'm going to be making a bonus tip for my viewers that stay to the end of the videos. This one is going to help your kick serve to be more effective when playing matches. And it's as simple as this. When you're practicing your kick serve, don't just practice it in the traditional way, kicking into your opponent's backhand. Now, yes, that makes a lot of sense, as naturally when you hit a kick serve, as a right-handed player against a right-handed player, that ball will kick more into the backhand side. Same for lefties playing against lefties. If you can actually practice your kick serve into your opponent's forehand side, it's going to be super effective as well. Rather than the ball kicking away from your opponent, it's actually going to be kicking in towards them, jamming them up, making for a very, very tricky return. The other reason why it's going to be super effective is people don't expect it. When they see you throwing the ball up and they read your toss as a kick serve, they're going to be expecting you to kick it up into their backhand. So when you hit it into their forehand side and it jams up into their body, they're not going to be prepared for it. So when you go out to practice your kick serve, don't just practice it into the backhand side, practice it into the forehand side too. Anyway, a massive thanks again for staying to the end of the video. Look out for my bonus tip in the next video. Take care.